Hello everyone, I'm Natalie Kristitan and today I'm going to talk about political economy of trade in the subject of international economics. So previously in chapter 3, we have learned that it was possible for countries to move from autarky to inter-industry trading relationship based on the patterns of comparative advantage. So for example, Japan will export motorcycle to Vietnam while importing rice from Vietnam, and Vietnam will export rice while importing motorcycle from Japan. So actually, based on the theory, both Japan and Vietnam can experience gains from the trade. However, in the point of fact, Japan has a long history of restricting imports of rice. This reluctance due to many Japanese rice producers that have historically been strongly opposed to accepting rice imports for economic security and cultural reasons. So at the Uruguay round negotiation in 1994, Japan was given a special treatment to continue to restrict rice imports. Until this day, Japan offers significant protection to its domestic rice sector because the domestic price of rice is approximately twice as high as the world price of rice. Well, welcome to the political economy of trade policy. In this chapter, we will learn that it is actually possible for a country moving from autarky to trade, but certain groups actually can lose due to this changing. And in this case, if Japan continue or decide to import rice, Japanese rice producers are the one will be harmed. And there are some approach to the political economy of trade. There are 4, but in the remainder of this chapter, we will focus more on factor-based and sector-based. But first, I will briefly explain about country-based and firm-based approach. There are two theories in the country-based approach. First is institutionalism theory that emphasizes the importance of national government in supplying protection to the country, while realism views the trade in the lens of power to promote national strength. So logically thinking, it can be said that realism approach is the next step of institutionalism. Because while institutionalism only focus on how government protect the country from the trade risk or for the other reason, realism theory try to take advantage of those protections to promote national strength in international trade. And the next approach is firm-based. The insight of this approach is that the exposure of firms to trade can influence the posture or the way of these firms respond to the trade liberalization. Now we will move to the factor-based, but before of that, I will give illustration so that we can understand about the factor-based approach. We know that Vietnam have a large endowment of land. In the language of trade, the Vietnam will be called relatively land abundant, while Japan have large endowment on physical capacity. This condition give both of these countries their own comparative advantage to produce. For Vietnam, to produce the land-intensive good, which is rice, and as for the Japan, to produce the capital-intensive good, which is motorcycles. So we can see there are 2 factors that causing the trade or make the trade is possible to be done, which are first the factor endowments that can be associated to the countries, Vietnam and Japan. Endowments in Indonesia means anugerah or berkah, gifted. So Vietnam has lot of land and Vietnam have lot of physical capacity. That's why factor endowments is associated to the countries, while the factor intensities of the factor ability is associated with the sectors of all the goods, which is rice and motorcycles. Nah, I hope that illustration will make you more understand some of these statements. There are two models, Hesker-Ohlin model and Stolper-Samuelson theorem. Instead of reading this to you, I will explain these two theories in this figure, through this figure, I mean. Nah, this figure is to illustrate the flow of trade and also will show us how can a trade exist based on these two theory. So first we know that both countries have their own endowments. Vietnam has land abundant while Japan capital abundant. These conditions of endowments make both countries have comparative advantage in different sectors. Vietnam in rice, Japan in producing motorcycle. Nah, based on the theory, because Vietnam has comparative advantage in rice, so they must export rice, while Japan they must import rice, and vice versa. Vietnam will import motorcycle and Japan will import rice based on the theory. And this kind of trade will causing the increased output of rice in Vietnam, but at the same time also will decrease the output of motorcycle in Vietnam, and in Japan will increase the output of motorcycle and decrease the output or the demand of rice. This condition will lead to the increased demand for land, obviously because there is more demand for rice, there will be also more demand for the land, and it will decrease the demand for capital in Vietnam, while in Japan it will increase the demand for the capital while decreasing the demand for the land. And from this condition it will affecting the landowners. Owners will gain or will be benefited from this condition in Vietnam, but the capitalist will lose. In Japan, the capitalist is the one that will be gained or will be benefited, while landowners will lose. Now, that is the flow of trade based on these two models. Now I will jump to the next approach, or it is called sector-based or specific factors approach. So, the previous two models of theories assume that a country can move effortlessly or can move easily among different sectors of trading economies, such as we have learned that these two theories, the previous theories, assume that Japan can easily move from producing rice to producing motorcycles, and Vietnam from producing motorcycle to producing rice. But in the real life or in the reality, it's not that easy. Let's take a look at the example of US production of steel. There's a company named Weirton Steel Corporation, and there's also many other steel firms. They are owners of large amounts of specific factors in the form of steel mills, and some of them very large, and integrated facilities. So these facilities cannot move easily into the production of other products, such as semiconductors, for instance, because these facilities are specific to the production of steel. Now we know that there is another factor, which is specific factor that affecting the flow of trade. In conclusion, now we understand that political economy of trade is not that straightforward, but it is rather subject to number of influences at the levels of nations, factors, sectors, and firms. I think that's all from me for my presentation, and thank you. And this is the source where I got my material for my presentation today. Thank you. God bless you. Bye.